Good afternoon and welcome again to Strictly Healthy. Now, this is episode 9, and again, we'll be talking to Chukes Maxwell. He is the founder of Action to Prevent Suicide. He will join us shortly, but in the meantime, while we await him to join us, I was looking up some information on NHS. Because we're going to be dealing with the sober subject of suicide. This time of year, people have bills coming in, plus we're dealing with all this COVID business, etc. It's impacting on people's mental health, even if you don't have, serious thoughts of suicide or anything like that. People are stressed out, to say the least, dealing with this situation. So we have Chukes coming in to just give us some more thoughts on what his charity does to help train and help prevent suicide. But in the meantime, while we await him, I thought I'd look up some information, which I'm going to put to Chukes as well later on. But I thought I'd look up some information about inflammation and how that affects and impacts on us and our mental health. So I looked a little bit up on NHS. And let me just read a bit of what it says here. Bear with me, please. So how is inflammation triggered inside my body? So inflammation happens because there is a system inside our bodies called the immune system that works to protect the body from infections and disease. It is programmed to react to invaders or sometimes or something that the immune system does not recognize. So including bugs such as bacteria, viruses. Have we heard a lot about viruses, etc.? Sure do. Special patrollers called white blood cells move through our body looking out for these invaders. So what is possible? What can we do? The patrolling white blood cells have Y-shaped structures on their surfaces called antibodies. These antibodies grab onto the sticky points on the surface of the invaders, so the invaders cannot get away. So that sounds good. More about, let's see, there was another bit that I found here about inflammation, but let me just read on a little bit. These invaders' sticky points are called antigens. After this happens, the patrolling white blood cells release chemicals that activate and communicate with the other parts of the immune system. So here's another bit about what is inflammation. So inflammation is the body's response to injury or infection. It aims to protect the body from harm. For example, if you fall over or you hurt your knee, it probably becomes red and sore, hot and swollen. This is because of inflammation. This does not only happen when you're injured, but also if you get an infection and develop a disease or have an allergy. You can read more about this information and what happens. So I thought that this was quite a good point relating to what might be happening in our brains. With all that's going on, the stress levels are high. We're really struggling to cope with what's going on. So is there something that we can do to help us? Now, we had a doctor on earlier in the program. I think it was episode 3. You might want to review that again. That was Dr. Gail Pearson. She gave us quite a few things that we can do really to help ourselves to combat all these various things that are going on in our bodies. So what was she saying? Something like have a lot of rest, she says, exercise, just doing things that are good for our bodies, the feel-good things that will help us cope with the situation that we're dealing with. So if you have any questions or comments or points, please do get in touch. I think shortly we will have Chukes on. I was just checking for questions, etc. But today, yes, if you have any questions that you want to put to Chukes regarding suicide prevention or have anyone that's impacted by the issue of suicide, we would be most pleased for you to get in touch with us. How do you do that? Well, we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. So you can leave a question or comment there. And somebody is feeding me questions at some point. So hopefully we will have that. But I will share some more of this from this NHS regarding inflammation and mental health. Let's just get the questions up here. Give me a moment. So just this bit here, I'm just going to read this. Because of this communication, more white blood cells will arrive to help out. Together they will destroy the invaders, either by breaking it down or eating it up. So that sounds good. This is the process behind inflammation. So I thought that was a good point. I'm going to try and pull that up on the screen to just show you as well. We can have a review of that. Let me just share my screen. Share the screen with you. There we go. That is the article. Hopefully you can see that. And there, this is the article I found. Now, some of the points that it does affect us, it can cause depression, psychosis, bipolar, schizophrenia, and various other problems. So we can see how this can impact even people that aren't have suicidal thoughts or get to the point of suicide. They are massively impacted by any stress levels and things going on, and our bodies, because I thought this is quite cute, these pictures, etc., that's showing what's happening, what the white cells are doing. So it helps as well to have discussions with people. If you have any thoughts of suicide or just feeling depressed and down and discouraged, it would help certainly to have a discussion with someone or let somebody know that you are having these issues. Now I see that we've been joined by Chukes, so I will stop sharing now the stream.
Can you hear me?
I can certainly hear you.
Yeah, better
Hopefully
late than never, eh? Yes,
yeah,
better
I'm glad
late than
you showed
never.
up.
I flew in.
You flew in, teleported in. So pleased to have you in. I was just actually reviewing some information on NHS with anybody that's viewing today to do with inflammation and how much that affects our mental
Inflammation,
effects. Yes.
Inflammation or information?
No, not information, but inflammation.
Okay, so that's a very important topic that I'm actually working on now as well in my day job.
Brilliant, because that was one of the questions I was going to put to you and just ask you, what are your thoughts on this? Because I was reading on an NHS article today about how that can affect you, schizophrenia, mental health, bipolar, all the rest of it. Can you share that?
Yeah, so one of the things I think we need to look at, especially in regards to mental health, is not going purely for pharmaceutical drugs. And I'm not saying I'm against them, but what I'm saying is that we need to be checking out what we're eating. And a lot of us, through our cultural backgrounds, as well as the way we've been brought up, are addicted to certain foods, which are causing issues within our whole bodily systems. So, for instance, if we have too much carbohydrates and sugar, we're going to create inflammation in our body. So it's interesting that we can look at sugar as a lovely sweet thing, but the thing about sugar, it's rooted in a lot of suffering from many cultures, and it's created an addiction in everybody. And so the amount of sugar in our system has an effect on cancers, on inflammation, on how our brain works. So a lot of what will be happening in the future is to focus on our diet, on fasting, about eating what's right, intermittent fasting, lots of water to help heal that inflammation. And you can reverse practically anything through regenerative medicine.
Right. Okay. I'm so glad you said that. I think we looked at that before too with a doctor actually a few episodes ago,
Okay.
who talked about things similar. Getting plenty of sleep, water, exercise, those types of things. But it's
Yeah.
interesting that you talk about diet and
Mm.
how that impacts on us, in particular sugar.
Yeah.
Now, and it's interesting that you say too that. Not necessarily looking for medications, but possibly, something, some supplements, etc., that might be of help.
Mm.
Is there anything that you would recommend in particular?
So the things we need to take, especially, are the right amount of minerals in terms of the water we drink and everything else. Vitamin D is a big plus.
Yeah.
Vitamin C, really big plus, especially within this pandemic reality now. So those are two.
Sure.
Zinc, very important. Yeah, but I would go onto YouTube and look at websites, for instance, like Dr. Berg, different sites around keto diet or the keto trainer, because on there they've done a lot of the research and they've because the point is, if you do like a keto paleo diet and you exercise and you do everything, you regenerate cells, you change your body, and you can almost like go back to when you were super fit. So that's really important.
Yeah. So it almost sounds too like, obviously keeping your body in shape, but losing weight, etc.
Yeah, naturally, using weight naturally. And it's not about, because some of the information we used to get was don't eat cream, don't eat butter, don't eat that. No, it's not about that. It's about fat burning fat rather than fat burning sugar or adding to sugar. Yeah. And especially some of the cultures we come from, we like the foods that are actually causing our problems. Rice and peas, chicken, plantains, very carbohydrate-rich foods. And then they say, this group of people have this, are susceptible to this, because we haven't changed our diet.
And things like diabetes and that sort of thing is
exactly.
A
So all of that
well.
can be reversed. We can reverse that by looking at our diet. And then the big thing and the topic we're talking about is attitude. Now, it's very, very hard. Oh, I'm very happy we've got a new president in the White House, by the way, 1 week on. And it's like,
I know you are. I know.
Yeah. And that in itself gives me so much joy and hope. And did you hear that poem from that lovely 22-year-old young lady?
I didn't hear the whole thing, but I want to find it and listen to it, because she had some power, didn't she?
I'm going to send you the script and I'm going to send you the poem as well. That was like because I never knew about her, and it was such a blessing to listen to that.
Yeah. She was very powerful. Very, very powerful. Yeah. But just getting back, you mentioned something about culturally, how, especially like we're both from the Caribbean or have that heritage. You mentioned about that. Now, they've been saying how COVID is impacting on people from our heritage. And people like us. How much of your training is really helping people from those types of cultures?
It's funny you should say that. That's why I was asking you earlier, because I literally got off the phone call today with a psychologist lady from Trinidad and another friend from Trinidad, where it's an organization called Ubele, UBELE, and they are, over the COVID, they've pulled together so many diverse groups of people from diaspora of both Africa and the Caribbean. And so I'm looking to work and collaborate with them to deliver some of this, because even within the Caribbean and African cultures, suicide is a word you do not mention. And it's also linked up with a religious idea, because it was an illegal act up until 1961. You couldn't get buried in churches. So we've got a lot of stigma and taboo to do. So only as of today, yeah, exactly. I'm really want to work with that. And in that as well, there's so much pain within the Black culture. I'm going to call it that as a whole, because whether we talk about slavery, whether we talk about how we were brought up in the Caribbean, how we were brought up in Africa, can be quite intense. So the anger and the bravado hides the pain. as we do this work properly,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what we discover is more pain than the bravado and the gang killing and all the stereotypes that we have of black people and especially black men.
Mm-hmm.
So the other part we're going to try and do is, in the past, we used to have something called the Count Me In census, which was the amount of black and ethnic minority people who were in mental health institutions on any one night in March the 31st. So we're looking to re-energize that, because in that there's an overrepresentation of people from other cultures. So we want to address that. And then what we want to try and do is address two things. One, how we're referred to as BAME. Two, how we refer to many social issues which aren't taken care of in the early stages, which then become mental health issues. And then we start to define them as mental health issues rather than actually seeing that everything is mental health, and our response to it. If we don't respond properly to our mental health, it has an effect on our body. Our bodies and minds are interlinked. They're not separate. But we're coming out of a belief system and a medical practice, should I say, which separates rather than synthesizes.
Okay. And I was speaking to you earlier. You said you were on some special training program today. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So one is that was, I was trying to explain to you what I was going to be going on to do. I was supposed to, I work with another organization called Ollie's Futures, which a friend of mine, son at my old boarding school took his life, unfortunately. And so they've developed something called 3 years nearly. But the problem is with suicide is whether it's 3 years or a day, it feels like yesterday with people. So they've developed a course called TAS 10. And TAS 10 is 10 top tips to help with suicide prevention. And for all these courses, we need to have people in support. I last weekend did a suicide prevention awareness and briefing and 7 top tips. And we did that to just under 300 people across the world from 51 countries. So I'm very keen to work in that way, using Zoom, using breakout rooms to enable people to hear and to talk about suicide and what we can do about it collectively. Because the mantra I use is that suicide prevention is everyone's responsibility. And that is their ability to respond, not to rescue, not to stop, but to respond.
Yes. Now, very, very interesting topic. Now, I can reveal I have a family member who is very ill, terminal cancer, and there's lots I think that she could do to possibly help herself, as in, to deal with the cancer, maybe get over it and so on. But it almost seems like she's not willing to or wanting to, and just deciding to, sort of give. How much do you help ones that are sort of on long-term terminal illnesses, etc.?
So the thing about it, we have never been comfortable with one talking about death and dying. Illness. I think I talked about this last time. If I didn't, I'll do it again.
Do it now.
I is illness. Yes.
Yeah.
We is wellness.
Yeah.
So we have to move from an I culture to a we culture. And everything we need to understand is that we are so interconnected. That's why we call our things Ubuntu. It's the spirit of connection. It means you can't be fully human on your own. But yet again, what is her attitude? What is her internal attitude towards life? If she has given up on life, no amount of talking to or whatever. So firstly, one of my things of thinking about this, I have to be comfortable with death to address life. And it's very hard for a person to want to die and want to live at the same time. So there's always a point of uncertainty.
It is indeed.
Yeah. And so we have to be comfortable with free will, allowing the person the free will. But we who are well, or who think we're well at the time, need to try everything we can to preserve life. But it's down to the person as to whether they want to receive and do something about it, or be willful in their nature towards killing themselves. So one of the things that I try to bear in mind, using an energy which is based in my belief in God, is that rule number 6 is thou shalt not kill, especially oneself. However, when we say that, one of that 10 commandments, that is a really, when you think about all the different things about drinking too much, smoking too much, 17.5 million people die per year through heart disease. So that's almost like a passive way of killing oneself rather than So we have many suicidal behaviors in our lifestyle which are slowly killing us compared with what we might see as active or willful people dying on their deathbed which want to just die. So she hasn't just arrived at this point.
Yeah. You're talking about people not looking after their health, etc. But I mean, that's not the situation with my cousin. She has looked after herself, totally healthy, and it almost seems strange that she would even have this terminal cancer. But cancer just is so random, doesn't it? It just picks people.
So, but in that, I suppose on a spiritual level, for instance, like Martin Luther King knew he was going to die. Remember that speech he did? His speech when he'd been to the mountaintop, he may not get there with you. And then his speech the night before he died. So we are spiritual beings. We die. And I said before, whether people believe me or not, it's not something you really want to talk about in a suicide prevention course. You're going to reincarnate. Yeah. So there comes a point when my mum knew when she was going to die. She just, my grandma did as well. I think I might have said this story. I don't know, because I do so many shows and stuff. I don't know what I've said to you on this show. But my grandma, when she was dying, she got out of bed and said to my aunt, I can hear angels singing. And my aunt said, can you go back to bed? She went back to bed and fell asleep. My mum said to this lady, she said, when you leave this country, I will die. The plane took off from Heathrow and my mum died. So that's what I call a good death. My father, angry, suffered. So you don't. So when you talk to your cousin or family member, we've got to address that because she's right on that edge now. So her understanding, your understanding, you might be judging that she's not doing anything about it. She might have a real reason why because sometimes when we look after ourselves, there's something called, one of the glamours is called the glamour of the physical body. So we can get so into our body is a temple, but everything is with moderation. So we never know what someone's internal attitude is. And it doesn't mean, and you're right, death is random. Life is random, but it's how we deal with it.
Indeed. And our attitude towards it all, I think, is key. Now, I just want to go back back a bit on something you said earlier about, I think you said about the 7 points.
7 tips.
Are you able to
list
some of those?
Sorry?
Yes.
You want me to give away my course for nothing? No, you want me to give away my 7 tips straight away? You don't want to come on one of my courses?
Not necessarily. I know you want people on your course, but
the 7 tips take me 45 minutes to do, and you want me to do it in 5 minutes? Oracle is what you observe. It's what you reflect. What you ask. We ask the question courageously. It's what you, how you care, showing care, acceptance, respect, and empathy, and it's how you listen, how you expand, and then how you give safety.
Okay, sounds good. Right, so you talk about your course then. Can you give some more information about when your course is, and how it can be delivered?
So one of the things I'm thinking about doing is like the way I'm looking at this now, I'm going to put on webinars, I think, where we promote sell tickets at a certain amount of money. We'll also get sponsorship to deliver these courses to different people. And we will also just use them to work internationally, because now we've developed these things online. We can talk to Kenya, we can talk to Nigeria, we can talk to Uganda, we can talk to South Africa, we can talk to these different countries.
This is such a great platform, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. That I'm working with now.
Yes, that sounds amazing, actually. Now, do you have any plans of trying to reach various celebrities, etc., to try and leverage what you're doing? Right?
So
Any
the
ideas on
problem
doing
is
that?
with celebrities. I'm going to say the problem with celebrities, yeah, is
Okay.
that
Yeah.
is that we've got to be very careful to not utilize someone's supposed fame to
Mm-hmm.
make the argument, because suicide affects everybody. Doesn't matter whether
Indeed.
you're rich, poor, black, white, famous, infamous. So I started a
Mm.
project which was going to be a book called Beyond Hope Life. And in that, I was going to
Mm-hmm.
try and do celebrities who'd been bereaved by suicide and things. And I thought, why just celebrities? If I have a
Yeah.
friend down the road
Indeed.
who's lost her son or her daughter, why should a celebrity have a picture more than a person? So what we've decided to do is make that into a website so anyone can go on it. And so the idea of our
Mm-hmm.
promotion that we want to involve everybody, not just celebrities, in is our goodwill in action to prevent suicide. And the idea for that one
Mm-hmm.
is to purchase a farm in Devon to build and have places where people who are feeling suicidal can come and stay, and those who've been bereaved by suicide can come and stay. And then another way to earn money for that is that we're going to have glamping on the side so people can come and glamp using nice tents and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when they pay for that,
Oh
that
yeah.
extra money will go back into the charity to offer free places for people to stay. And then we'll also do our
Oh,
courses.
brilliant.
So
Mm-hmm.
when we open our bank account, we've already opened a charity, Goodwill in Action to Prevent Suicide. We're just awaiting our bank account to be opened, and then we're going to be promoting the idea, because we have to raise over £1 million to buy our property and do what we need to do.
Right, right. Well, the reason why I mention celebrities is because they can certainly help leverage and help you get things done more
Yeah,
quickly, or
yeah.
help you with
Yeah,
promotions,
so in
etc.
that we will have some celebrities. We all know some famous people, so that's good. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
yes, what I don't want is to what's the word? I just don't want to promote one person suffering more than another person suffering. I use a phrase, there's
Indeed.
no hierarchy in suffering. And what I mean by that,
Mm-hmm.
I can pull out a celebrity out the top of my hat who can come and talk about suicide, but it needs to be more. Yeah, that's important, but I'm not. What I'm trying to say is still, I keep saying it. It's everybody, not just the celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could
Cool.
get
All
royal
right. Good.
support, maybe royal support might come in,
Fig.
but it's about, yeah. I'm not
What
negating.
did you say? Sorry.
I said I could get royal support, maybe. Who knows? So it could happen from any angle.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think it could, because they talk about that all the time. So I don't think it would be so much of a stretch or that hard to really
Yeah,
get that. So I'm really hoping that would happen for you, if I can help in any way. And
thank you.
of
You
course,
don't
we
worry.
want to
You're on my
hear
list.
more.
You're on my list.
Okay. And of course, if you want to do some promotions through what we're doing through the
Definitely.
show, and any more information, I can feed that through to anybody that's watching and might be interested. Get
Thank
that
you.
out there. I think we all could, as you say, lots of us could all help to chip in and see how we can
Yeah,
help
definitely.
make
Definitely.
this happen.
I think it
I'm
would be
just
good for the
gonna check.
Southwest.
Yeah, it would be good for the Southwest, indeed. I'm just checking for any questions, if there were any questions. I know somebody did have that question about mental health, sorry, inflammation, using of supplements and so on. So I did ask that already. But anything to do with the gut and brain, the relationship between the gut and brain, and how
Yeah, I
that
mean,
might
so
affect
that's not
or
the gut is
attitude?
known as the second brain. So
Yeah.
again, bitters, anything that's bitter, anything that can reduce the inflammation of the things, because sometimes you could be looking very slim, but you could have inflammation of the internal organs, and that's why the
Indeed.
whole fasting can help regenerate
Mm-hmm.
that, and it
Mm.
also, what I know, because I'm doing it from time to time now, I might eat 16 hours apart or something. It
Mm-hmm.
enables your body and your system to recalibrate itself, because if the moment you put
Mm-hmm.
food in your mouth, it's going to have to work your gut.
Okay.
So then also
Okay.
at some
Um,
point, yeah,
Say
The other
again,
point,
sorry.
the other point is in our gut is what we call our solar plexus, where our emotional body sits. So that bit, we need that to be a bit calmer, like a lake, rather than a surf or too much sea.
Yeah.
So by
Yeah.
relaxation, by keeping still, by being quiet, that helps heal our gut as well.
Yeah.
Good
Well, for
breathing.
me, I, middle of the night, I don't know why this happens, but 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, that's when my brain seems to start planning out stuff in
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
I don't, it's quite annoying, but certainly getting a lot of sleep certainly helps. And like you say, the brain gut has a good relation there.
Yeah.
Now, somebody was asking about fundraising. How are you going about fundraising, or how we can possibly help with
Yeah, I mean, we're
fundraising
at the
for?
very early stage yet. We're still
Yeah,
waiting
okay.
for NatWest Bank to open our bank account. As soon as that's opened, we will be coming out and giving different strategies. We'll have the direct debit opportunities. We'll have gift aid opportunities. We'll have people raising money doing certain events. We'll have music gigs. We will have corporate sponsorship from organizations. We will do training, which will then get paid into charity. We've got lots of ideas, but we need to have the bank account open and that registered and then go.
Sure.
We're waiting. Through COVID,
Yes.
some of the bank account issues have taken 12 weeks or longer to open a bank account.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to take up more of your time because I know you're a busy man, but please keep me in touch
Will do.
and in the loop of what you're doing. I'm very interested and want,
Thank
have
you.
colleagues and various other people that could possibly
Yeah,
help in
we'd
some
love
way.
to have a
And more
recording of this,
information.
and then we'd like to have a recording of this, and then maybe I'll turn the tables on you and interview you, because we're going to be doing a podcast series, and
Hey,
and we want to do that, and I would like to look at your heritage and your journey. So it'd be nice to do that. Turn the cards on the table.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Whenever you're ready. So
All right.
I want to thank you very much, and hopefully we will be able to catch up soon again.
Definitely. Thanks,
Take
Linda.
care, Chukes.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.